Welcome, brethren, to Crafted in the South. My name is Roddy Duarte.
And I'm James. How are you, boys? Long time no see. James, where have you been? You've been to the US, I've been to the US, and now we're back. Life has gotten in the way.
It has. It's been a busy year for the Crafted in the South team. We've both been away on personal and professional matters, so the schedule has been light this year. But we're back with a bang, and what an episode we've got today, Roddy. Eh?
Depending when the podcast comes out this weekend, we have the Chandler's Ford Beer Festival. And I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be a great time for Freemasons and non-Masons to meet up, have a good laugh, have good beer, and enjoy the warm weather and sun. So I hope you could make it, James, and I hope all of you have fun, whoever attends this weekend.
I hope so. I'm going to drop into the beer festival. I haven't drunk a sip of beer since I was 18, I think, but I hear they're going to have dogs, so I'm coming just to see the dogs.
Oh, brilliant. But yeah, shifting gears. So we have a podcast with Mason. His name is Dennis Gilbert, and he's been 60 years a Mason. And James, as you can imagine, it was fantastic to have him on, but it was kind of hard to grasp all 60 years. But I promise you, there are some good nuggets of wisdom there. And how he sees Freemasonry, how it was during the 1960s. Dennis is 91 years old now and straight talker, I have to say. But I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and I hope you enjoy it too, James, because I know you were traveling and learn from this man. It was a really good episode.
Yeah, I couldn't make this one, sadly. I was away, so you took this one for the team. And how do you compress that much experience into a short conversation? I don't know, but let's find out when Roddy met Dennis.
Depending when the podcast comes out this weekend, we have the Chandler's Ford Beer Festival. And I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be a great time for Freemasons and non-Masons to meet up, have a good laugh, have good beer, and enjoy the warm weather and sun. So I hope you could make it, James, and I hope all of you have fun, whoever attends this weekend.
I hope so. I'm going to drop into the beer festival. I haven't drunk a sip of beer since I was 18, I think, but I hear they're going to have dogs, so I'm coming just to see the dogs.
Oh, brilliant. But yeah, shifting gears. So we have a podcast with Mason. His name is Dennis Gilbert, and he's been 60 years a Mason. And James, as you can imagine, it was fantastic to have him on, but it was kind of hard to grasp all 60 years. But I promise you, there are some good nuggets of wisdom there. And how he sees Freemasonry, how it was during the 1960s. Dennis is 91 years old now and straight talker, I have to say. But I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and I hope you enjoy it too, James, because I know you were traveling and learn from this man. It was a really good episode.
Yeah, I couldn't make this one, sadly. I was away, so you took this one for the team. And how do you compress that much experience into a short conversation? I don't know, but let's find out when Roddy met Dennis.
And brethren, we are with Dennis Gilbert, and he is a 60-year Mason. And I think this is one of the most special shows that we've had, because we haven't had anyone from the craft that's had this experience. Dennis, over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, it's very enjoyable to be spoken to on this momentous occasion of my being a Freemason for over 60 years. And if there's anything that I've experienced in the 60 years of Masonry, and I'm sure there will be, that will help younger Masons to get more established in the craft and realize that it's a very, very serious subject and well worth all the study that it's expected you to give.
Tell us, what's your lodge? Where are you from? Because I think we're going to try to cover the meaty bits of 60 years in the craft.
Well, I was born in my hometown. My father was in the docks control room. It was his job to position which ships and liners came to the port. He destined which berth they should tie up on. He was in the Southampton Male Voice Choir, and he was a concert pianist and a church organist. And I put my father into Freemasonry because of his musical talents and his ability as a man when he was 62 years of age.
Oh, wow. So you brought your father to Freemasonry.
My father is Freemason.
That's wonderful.
And I was a steward, the chief steward in Cotton Lodge at the time. My father was 62 years of age, and I wanted to do the charge after initiation for my father. And I learnt it. And at the time, Province, bless them, said, no, you cannot do the charge unless you are at least a junior ward. They wouldn't let me do it. They allowed me to do the working tours.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming back a little bit, so you're from Taunton Lodge. You joined Freemasonry in the 1960s, but what brought you to Freemasonry? What was it feeling? What was it feeling for you that you couldn't get anywhere else at that time?
There are certain things that happen in the ceremonial that made me think very, very deeply about myself and what I was experiencing at the time, which made me be firmly convinced that Freemasonry and all that it meant to me so far was where my enjoyment and my pleasure and my religious belief would want to be.
And let me ask you, how were you introduced to the lodge? Did someone bring you? How was that? Because I know that we were, in that sense, we were very, at least what I believe, we were very closed off back then.
My next door neighbour was the experienced Mason, was the Primus Master of a new lodge. He wanted to propose me earlier, and he said, no, I'm going to hesitate. I want you to be the first candidate of a new lodge where I will be master. It will be better for you. So I hesitated. I took his advice. He drove me to the lodge. I was initiated, and he brought me home. And that started my Masonic career.
Fantastic. And we're talking about Taunton Lodge, right?
Yes, 8,080.
And during that time, was that something, that experience you had, would you say that was something normal or something very special? Because did guys have to wait a while, or how did the joining process look in that time that you remember?
It was very special to me because I felt I was being selected. I wasn't just being asked to join Masonry. I felt privileged because it would appear to me that he was putting me in a very beneficial position. Him as the Primus Master, or the first Master, Primus being the first, and for me to be his candidate, because 23 years later, I was elected to be the Primus Master of Thomas Bennett Langton Lodge, 9224.
Okay.
And I was Director of Ceremonies of the chapter that met at the same building. And on the same evening, I was conducting the rehearsal for the chapter installation ceremony when the founders were meeting in the committee room. I came out of my chapter rehearsal when it concluded and went into the founders' meeting.
Okay.
And most of the room stood up and walked towards me with their hand out to shake my hand. I shook 3 or 4 hands, and on the 5th person I said, "Why are you doing this to me?" He said, "Dennis, in your absence, you have been elected to be the Primus Master of the new lodge."
What an honor.
So I said, "Thank you." And before I left, I said to my wife, they're forming a new lodge, and because of my knowledge and experience, they want me there. She said, "You're not going to take on more responsibility, are you?" I said, No. They just want my advice. And of course, what could I do but accept when everybody's shaking my hand? And I thought, what can I do when I go home? So I got home and I thought, there's only one way to talk with my wife, and that's to be honest and straight.
Yes.
So I sat down in a chair. I said, I want to talk to you, dear. She said, yes. I thought you might want to. So I told her what had happened. She looked at the carpet for what probably was only 10 seconds. Seemed like 10 minutes. She looked up. She said, do you really want to do it? I said, well, it is an extreme privilege. It's an honour, better than a provincial rank. It will never, ever happen in my life or to anybody else again.
That's right.
She looked at the carpet again. Then she looked up with a smile and she said, then I'll support you.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful that she did that.
There's something else I'd like to mention, which is equally as poignant, but on a more general scale, and that's this. It's a question that I'm very, very important about, and that is memorizing ritual. Now, when I was very young, the older past masters said, turn the television off. Don't get your mind absorbed with television. You should be looking at the book of ritual, not the television screen. That was so in the 60s. Now, of course,
yes,
everybody has a mobile phone. But the mobile phone does everything. You can find out anything in this world in a few clicks. I was on a bus the other day, on the lower floor, sitting on my wheelchair. I looked around. There were 18 people on the lower deck. Young people, elderly people, people from different nationalities, different races, different creeds, and everyone, apart from me,
You're very right about that, and I like that you touched upon that because I'll soon step into to be junior warden in my lodge in the autumn, and I was studying the words. I like to write them out in cue cards, and that's when I feel most at peace, but also more present. And it's quite odd saying this because I just remember being a child, or even before the internet. Let's just say that, right? And it was always, I felt like I was more present. But now, what gives me presence and a sense of calm is studying the ritual. And I love that you hit that on that, because I think just being modern men, we forget about what peace looks like because we always constantly are on this phone or on the computer because of work and life. And you hit something really important, going back to basics.
What you just said to me, Roddy, is very, very important because it's brought my thinking into something that I wanted to describe at this interview, but without you realizing it, you've helped me into it.
Fantastic.
And that's the question of memorizing ritual. Now then, I contend, whether you be the master, a past master, a warden, or a deacon, if you're delivering ritual to the candidate, you should, without doubt, memorize it. For this reason, you will stand or sit, whatever piece of ritual you're doing, and look at the face of the candidate. He will be looking at you. You could read his face and his expression to see the words that you're explaining to him that you spent so many hours memorizing, whether he's absorbing them. He's looking at you, realizing that what you are saying to him is very important, is very profound, it has a great depth of meaning, both with its morality and its religious content. And an exchange will build between the two of you. If you don't do it that way, the master or whoever will be sitting in his chair, bent over, reading. The candidate will be looking at the top of his head. He won't be looking at the candidate. And there is no personal exchange between the two of you. The master won't realize the depth of thought that the candidate has to the words he's speaking. And the candidate will think he's just reading a book rather than speaking from memory. And there's something else that's so important. And a lot of people don't think this way, but I do. As you go about your daily life, if you reach a situation where you might make a mistake, both morally or intellectually, and it would be very easy to take the narrow path down the hill instead of the wide path down the hill instead of the narrow path up the hill. If you have Masonic ritual and principles locked into your memory, it will help you make the right decision in your daily exchange with your fellows. If you don't have it locked in your memory, you will react, possibly wrongly, on how you felt at that moment. But if you're guided by Masonic principles, small words.
100%. I love that you touched upon that, because we're going to come back to that later in this interview. But I'm glad that you set it up for later down the conversation. That's a very important thing, because the ritual serves as our guide for doing the right things in life. And sometimes we just need to have that reminder, because we could get sometimes bogged down in remembering the words, but not actually reflecting on them. And I think that's just a byproduct of just be busy these days. But I agree with you. It does sink in, and it does. I personally, there's like this reference point or this inflection point when your brain is suddenly, how could I explain it? There's this like moment that just catches you. I'm like, oh, don't go off the rails with your getting upset at something or at someone. And it's just this, it's like Freemasonry, the rituals, like, remember, just go down the right path, treat everyone with respect. We're all the same. You're representing a large organization.
I had an exchange about 2 years ago with a very senior member.
Mm-hmm.
He wore a chain.
Mm-hmm.
Go no further than that.
Mm-hmm.
We had a rehearsal here at King's Court, and then we went just up the road a bit to have a curry.
Yes.
And I did the charge after initiation at the rehearsal, and I did it, weren't perfect. And this guy said to me, Dennis, he said, "You're not helping the lodge." I said, "Pardon?" He said, "There are members of the lodge that will stop learning ritual because of you." I said, "You're going to have to explain yourself."
Yes.
And I'm saying this to a senior man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm suggesting to him that he should explain himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't bite back at me. He said, "Well, because you do it so well, the younger people will stop learning because they'll think, I can't do it as well as Dennis Gilbert, so I won't bother." And I said to him, "You are a provincial mentor. It is your job to encourage people to learn, not to dissuade them from learning because of Dennis Gilbert."
And yesterday I was at an installation for a close friend of mine, Morgan, and I saw many younger members just recite the ritual from memory. And for me, that's an inspiration. I'm not the best ritualist, but I try very hard. But I always just, even if it's a senior member, a younger member, for me, it's the opposite. Like you said, if I see someone do it word perfect and just deliver it with gusto and effervescence, for me, that's more, I admire them, like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to deliver something like that, and it's, I think the opposite, and you're right.
The following day, I won't use the word, I'll use a slightly different one. He spoke to a very close friend of mine. He said, "I was having a chat with Dennis Gilbert last evening. I think he choked me off." And my pal said, "Well, that's not like Dennis to do that." And he related what had happened. And my pal said to him, "Well, I'm sorry to have to tell you, you asked for it. Dennis is a straight talker. He won't say things he doesn't mean, and you can rest assured, if he says it, he's thought about it deeply before he opens his mouth, and he was giving you good advice, which you needed."
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So, Dennis, now I would like you for you to paint me a picture of a typical lodge night back then. Like, can you walk us through it? Who was there? How did people behave? What happened after the meeting? Like, say, the festive board.
Well, I can tell you what happened when I was initiated.
Yes, please.
I sat next to the master was on my immediate left, of course, as the candidate, and on my immediate right was the senior grand officer. We know how the tables are. And this senior grand officer, he must have been probably the age that I am now. Must have been nearly 90. Can anybody believe I'm nearly 90? And he said to me, "Well, my boy, you've seen a lot tonight. I doubt whether you've understood it." I said, "No, it is all a very great mystery to me, but I'm prepared to spend time learning and understanding." He said, "I like that." He said, "Now, let me give you some good advice." And he gave this to me over 60 years ago, and I will relate it to you almost word perfect. He said to me, "Freemasonry, if you're a good man, Freemason will make you a better man. If you're not a good man, it won't make any difference." At the night of my initiation, that was another puzzle. But of course, as the days and weeks and months and years went by, I knew exactly
what he meant. Wow. Wow. And then the festive boards, were they still, are we still having them in a similar manner?
No talking through toasts.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Everything was done correct.
Yes.
Formally. And of course, as far as you mentioned the ritual a second ago, as far as the ritual was concerned, in those days, you had to learn the ritual. If you went to a class of instruction or a rehearsal,
yes,
you were not allowed to open your book of ritual.
Okay.
You should have learned it
before coming.
You went to rehearse it. You didn't go to learn it. You went to rehearse what you've already learned.
Yes.
And if you took out your book of ritual, the director of ceremonies would say, "Put it away and go and sit over there." And they'd put a past master in to do what you're hoping you were going to do. So if you didn't learn it, they put a past master in.
I see.
Made you learn it.
Yes.
If you went to the office, you had to earn it.
Okay.
Now, I went to a meeting here at Challersford about 3 years ago. It was the 3rd degree. I was a guest. I sat at the table at the festive board, and there was a chap sitting next to me. I hadn't met him before. And lots of people waved their hands at me. And this guy said to me, "Dennis, you know a lot of people." I said, "No. A lot of people know me."
Good answer.
However, at the meeting, about 20 minutes, it was the 3rd degree, about 20 minutes before the meeting started, the DC came over to me with quite a worried look on his face. He said, "Dennis, could you help us out?" I said, "If I can, I will." I said, what is it you want from me?" He said, "The past master to do the traditional history has not arrived, and there's nobody I can look at that can do it. Could you do it for me?" I said, "I can, but I think you should ask a past master of the lodge before you ask a visitor. That's correct procedure."
Okay.
He said, "There's nobody that I know that's capable, but I know that you are." I said, "Okay, I'll do it." I stood up and I did the full traditional history without any hesitation. At 10 minutes' notice, I went right through, and something happened that I never ever seen in Masonry before.
What was that?
The whole lodge, all the officers, all the visitors, the grand officers, everybody stood up and applauded me.
Wow, that's
I've
fantastic.
seen that before.
How did that feel?
It registered. I was pleased for the can, not for me.
I love that because we do this for the candidate. We do this.
The can.
Yeah, we always do this for the candidate. Yeah, and this is something that I like that you say that, because I think when younger Masons now, there's so much pressure. They feel like there's so much pressure. I'm like, guys, just relax. First, it is serious, but you have to enjoy it. But at the end of the day, we're doing it for the candidate because we want them to have the best experience when they come into the fold.
He wants to have the right impression of what Freemasonry is.
Agreed. I agree with you 100%. And that's at the end of the day when, we're at home, we're at work, we're commuting, anything, learning the ritual. Remember that this is a gift that you're giving to a new brother coming into the lodge. And that's how we should always think. It's sharing. Great. I love that. It is sharing, is gifting. And it's so important because, again, I'm going to reiterate this. We forget about that because we get so frazzled. Oh, it has to be word perfect. And we should strive for it to be word perfect. We should learn. But hey, sometimes some people just, they know it because I know the ritual perfectly in my house, in my head, when I'm sitting in the toilet or commuting. But sometimes it just happens, right? That you're in the lodge room and you'll forget one or two words. And that's fine. That's okay. That is just what I think is the intention, how you show up at the end of the day.
Another thing I feel that it often is, you are so eager and keen to do it perfectly that sometimes that eagerness is overtaken a little bit by intention.
Yes, you're right.
Now, something happened to me again here. I was asked to do the charge after initiation, which I love doing. And because of my physical disability, the visiting officer walked with me to the robing room after the ceremony to help me change my regalia. He said, Dennis, I've heard that charge so many times. I've never, ever heard it as good, and I certainly have never heard it better. Thank you. I said, well, I'm glad you're impressed, but I'm more importantly pleased that the candidate was impressed. A couple of months later, I was in the same lodge, and it was again a first degree, but they chose one of their other palm masters to do the charge. This same visiting officer walked with me to the robing room to take my regalia off. And he said, I'm disappointed, Dennis. I said, are you? Whatever for? He said, I was hoping to hear you do the charge again. And I said to him, we must always remember that everybody has an opportunity. It is not my lodge. I don't dominate it. Everybody has an opportunity.
That's fantastic.
Well, thank you for the call.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And speaking about lodge and lodges and you visiting, was lodge life completely a separate world? You think back then from family or from your wife, or did your the brethren meet your family, or was it very much its own space? Because I feel that Freemasonry in those times was just it was a separate world, and the brethren would just go do their Freemasonry. That was a part. Kids and family, wife was at home doing their own thing, or was it? Or maybe I just have the wrong idea. How was it for you?
I can only speak for my own thing, which I'm sure is why you're directing the question to me.
Yes. Or what you observed, in the 60s, 70s,
And I'm going to say this to you. The great architect of the universe, or Jesus Christ, or the Lord, he looks over us all. So even though we're Freemasons, we work under the effect and the benefit of our religious belief in the Lord, which we do in our marriage, which is why we get married in a church, or I did, and why I married one of the most incredible people that God ever put breath in. She was such an amazing human being. She was the reason I opened my eyes in the morning. I adored her. And my religious belief, which was stimulated through Freemasonry, kept me doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to go into too much detail on this, but I was one of an identical twin. And there might be people listening or watching that knew my twin brother, but we lived different lives altogether.
Mm-hmm.
When I left college, I went into stonemasonry, first of all on my tools, and then representative, then management. Then I bought the business, then I opened businesses here, there, and everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 commissions from His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh.
Wow.
I had 1 commission from Her Majesty the Queen. And what you never know, MI5 check you out. They don't let royalty deal with crooks. But I passed without my even knowing I was being checked.
Wow.
But my twin brother went into the police force, and he lived in the fast lane. He used to drink too much. He had girlfriends everywhere, even though he was married. He died 14 years ago, and I'm still here. And he said to me once, "Why'd you stay with one woman? There's plenty out there." And I thought quickly, and the words just came to my mouth. I said, "I've got the best. You can have the rest." Whether you want to include that,
Full stop.
your choice. But my wife was so smart. He liked to drink. He came up one morning about 10:30. He said, "Can I have a drink?" I said, "Tea or coffee?" He said, "On a heavy night, can I have a drop of scotch?" I pulled a very small measure out. And my wife had a wonderful gift. She could lead people one way and throw them the other way, and they didn't even know it was happening. He took a sip of his glass, then he put it down, then he pushed it and emptied it. And he held the glass up like this, empty. And my wife said, "Ian, don't sit with an empty glass. It's facing it up." She said, "I'll take it to the kitchen and wash it up."
She sounds like an amazing person. So tell me, how did she? I always say the partners and the wives there always play a role in Freemasonry, and it's maybe a visible one, and maybe there's not a visible one. And what part does she play for you in Freemasonry? Because I think it's important to acknowledge that.
Yes, she respected my, I almost said adoration, but she respected my love of Freemasonry. She never complained about me going out often, but I was very, very sensible. When we married, which was 47 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I resigned a lot of degrees that I was in. I only stayed in the various orders that I had provincial rank in,
I see.
or grand rank.
Yes.
She came from a little village in Scotland, east of Edinburgh, called Inveresk, and that's where she's laying in her grave now, because her parents are buried in the same church.
Okay.
And when the Lord decides to receive me, I shall be laying with her.
Beautiful.
And because I ran a firm of stonemasons,
Mm-hmm.
what we did, my men were working on the cemetery lodge in one of the Southampton cemeteries. The grass was as high as that table. My wife was a very straight talker. She did not waste words. She said to me, "If I go before you, don't put me in this field. I want to go home." I said, "Okay." So when we were next up in Scotland, I bought a grave. And I thought, well, I'm in the trade. So my wife and I, her name was Charlotte, we designed a memorial,
Mm-hmm.
and I made it.
Wow.
I put it in the grave, and it stood there for 41 years with no wording on it.
Oh my gosh.
I thought, well, if I go first, I was 2 years older,
Uh-huh.
it's something, some avaricious money-grabbing stonemason won't charge you.
Yes. Oh, wow.
We designed it ourselves.
That is amazing. So you did get together.
So interrupt this podcast with them. But any time you'd like to see them, I can show you.
Thank you.
And when she passed away, and I'm going to tell you something, there must be something about me. The funeral director, she died here.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the funeral director well because I used to do stonework for the family. Came up to see me. And he said, Dennis, Charlotte's still wearing her wedding ring. I said, I know. I said, listen, I put it on. I shall take it off. And I took it off in front of him.
Wow.
As him and his colleague put her in a bag to take her into the home, he said, any special instructions? And I was rather direct. I pointed my finger at him and I said, 2 words. Be gentle.
As it should be.
And you know what happened afterwards? He arranged repatriation from Southampton to Edinburgh, 429 miles.
Yeah.
I went up, of course, for the funeral and I stayed with family for a day or two. I could give you the precise date. She died on the 5th of March. They took her up on the 17th of March and the funeral was the 22nd of March. I never forget anything.
Yeah, you don't.
Especially as important as that.
Yes.
When I came back, I had no account. So I rang. I spoke to his secretary, Louise. I said, Louise, it's Dennis Gilbert. I've not had your account yet. Oh, John's been very busy. I'll talk to him. I said, please, dude. I want to pay. 2 or 3 weeks, still nothing. So I got in my car and I went to his premises. Come in, Dennis. He said, cup of tea and a biscuit. I said, thank you. I said, John, could you please give me your account? I brought my check. I want to pay. He said, Dennis, there will be no account.
Wow.
Why? He knew the love and the depth we had between us.
Yes.
And it was his way of helping. I'm a very wealthy man. I don't need help financially. But I accept it. Now, I've given him all the arrangements for me. And I've done more than that. I've made him a co-executor. My solicitor is one executor to deal with all the legal things, my financial investments and everything else. And I've made him a co-executor for all the personal things in my home and, of course, my funeral.
Yes.
And I said to him, when my time comes, will you drive? Well, this is what undertakers do. They drive they drive halfway each. One drives halfway, the other drives. They take the coffin. One goes back to where the grave is, the other one goes back where they started.
Yeah.
And I said, is that what you're going to do? And do you know what he said to me? He said, no. I want to do everything.
Oh, that's brilliant. I have a question for you because since we're on the subject of loss of people that you love, and I don't like to say past loved. I think love is the present, now, the future, constant love. How has the craft helped you in processing loss and grief and then continuation of life? I don't want to get too much into the ritual because we do have non-Masons listening as well. But if there's a moral aspect or even Masonic, let's say, figurative tools that have helped you or aided you or comforted you during the grieving process, because I think the grieving process is always a constant. You just learn how to live with it.
It's a very interesting question, and it's a question that requires an answer of great depth of thought and concentration. But I deliberately, not to upset you or this podcast, but I am going to give you my honest answer to your question, which might not be as profound or have such depth as you might be hoping for. But first of all, I'm going to answer you with this. My wife and I, we didn't have children. And I've outlived my twin brother, I've mentioned that already, and I've outlived all the members of the family. So I spent a lot of time on my own. You can only read so many newspapers, you can only watch so many television things, and politics just make me sick these days, whether it be this side of the Atlantic or your side, which we won't go into now. But Freemasonry has helped me because it's given me time not to learn ritual, because everything in the book I have done at some time or another.
Yes.
But when I go to bed at night after a long day and I might feel a bit tired and lonely, I think, I know what I'll do. I'll do a second-degree tracing board tonight. So I lay in bed and I go through the ritual. I pick different pieces of ritual.
Wow.
It helps my thinking.
Okay.
It helps me with concentration. And every morning when I awaken, I say the Lord's Prayer, of course. I'm a churchman. That I live next door to St. Michael's and All Angels Church. And because of my loneliness, I've had the vicar come to see me. I'm there every Sunday morning. And they're so good. They move the pews so I can back in with my scooter. Every Sunday it's the same. There's a space for my scooter in the top left-hand part of the church, which is where I like to sit.
That's lovely.
Pulpit. And they look after me so well. And going through ritual at home, it helps me, but I've got the vicar come to my home. I've chosen all the hymns for my funeral. I've chosen all the prayers. I've chosen, and he is a senior Freemasonry, a Grand Officer, to do the eulogy. Everything is arranged because I suffer from myeloma, which is cancer of the bone marrow, which is what took the life of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. They take my blood every 6 weeks. If the result of the myeloma is what they call sleeping, slumbering, it's a bit like prostate cancer. You'll go on living.
That's right.
You can have it, but you'll go on living.
You have to monitor it.
Once it becomes aggressive, you've only got a few months. So all those plans are in hand. So if I get a phone call or a visit telling me it's aggressive, everything is in hand.
I see.
Great, sweating forward.
And yeah, which is going to be beautiful, and we should never be scared of that next transition. I personally don't, and I think about it a lot. I lost my parents 2 years ago, and Freemasonry helped me a lot. I might get teary-eyed because I loved sharing the pictures that I had with my mom and my dad about Freemasonry. And my mom was always so excited about it. And she's like, you need to keep on doing this because it makes you so happy. And it's quite powerful because I love the third degree because without going too much into it, because it instructs you of one of the biggest momentous things in that will happen to us, to all of us. And I always just say that we're lucky to be Freemasons because there's so many men and people never have the luck of being a Freemason, the pleasure of being a Mason, the instruction of a morality of being a Freemason. And I always like to tell brethren, guys, you have no idea how lucky you are We are so lucky, and I'll never forget this from a Romanian Freemason from here from Winchester, and just with the gravity, he said, "I personally believe that you are born to be a Freemason," and it has always stuck with me, and I have to say, believe if you believe that or not, it doesn't matter. But there are just words that sometimes stick with you, and that did, and I believe it as well.
Because I said something to a very senior Grand Officer,
Yeah.
and he wasn't very happy about it. And I'll tell you, and whoever's listening can learn this as well.
Yeah.
I hope the majority will believe in what I've said, because I think very, very deeply before I speak. And I was the lodge elder, and also the chaplain. This, I won't say which lodge it is, because I've been in so many. But he said to me, I want you to give your elders report through email, because it takes too long. I said, a minute or a minute and a half. That's all it will take. He said, do it on email. I said, that's wrong, because we've got members of the lodge that haven't got a computer,
Yeah.
so they won't know. And also, visitors in the lodge won't know, because they're not lodge.
Yeah, they need to know. Yeah. Yes.
He said, that's what I want. I said, okay. Bless my soul. Later that evening, he stood up and spoke about himself for 15 minutes.
No good.
And I said to him afterwards, I said, why did you do that? He said, do what? In surprise. I said, why did you stop my 90 seconds and grab nearly 15 minutes talking about yourself? He said, well, I'm a senior grad. I said, look, it's not what you hang around your neck. It's what's hanging in your heart that's important.
That's 100% right.
He didn't like it, but I wouldn't back off. And that's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what it's in your heart. I mean, now over the 60 years, and this is not a question to rile you up or be negative. It's just curious, because I think sometimes that we could talk about the positives of Freemasonry all the time, right? But like anything in life, there's good things, there's bad things, and over the last 60 years, was there ever a moment, maybe a disagreement, a disappointment, something that made you question it, where you genuinely considered stepping back?
No, never for one iota. What's Latin for iota?
Good question. You got me there.
It is Latin.
So never, you're always steady.
I've never challenged the depth, the principles, or the importance of Freemasonry. Never once has it crossed my...
That is fantastic to hear. I love that answer. I love that answer, because, there's always going to be trials and tribulations in life, even in Freemasonry. But deep set, your foundation is like, this is for life. This is something that just makes you better every day. And you have brotherhood and everything that comes with it.
Odd things that have been said to me when I've related to you, some of them haven't pleased me. But I haven't said, well, you're senior to me, so I'll put up with it. I've challenged it, and I've put my point of view.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone down very well, but then if we've all got free and open minds, surely we can express our opinion.
Yes.
We don't. You see, very often in life, and I'm sure you've experienced this, and it happens in Freemasonry, if somebody doesn't share the same view as you, they often think you're wrong.
Yes.
But if I don't share the same view as somebody else, I examine it, I pick it to pieces, I try to discuss it through. And it could very well be, and I'm man enough to admit it, that for many years I've been thinking the wrong way. It could be me that's wrong.
Yes. And challenging yourself and others, it's the way we grow.
Of course. It's the way you manifest yourself.
100%. I couldn't
That's the
agree
way I
more.
view it.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I feel sometimes with younger Masons is they just think that they, for the first couple of years, they have to be quiet. And no, you don't. You just have to be respectful, present your case, and come to a conclusion. Like you said, maybe the other party is correct. Maybe there is truth in what we're saying, or maybe you're completely correct, because times change, things change, right? But the essence of Freemasonry is always going to be the same, right? Our core values, but it does have to change with the world.
Well, what I always do, I always give things that I'm sure you must have realised it. I always give things a great amount of thought, a depth of thinking. I don't answer immediately. Sometimes people might ask me a question on Masonic principles or different pieces of ritual or whatever. If through my experience, if I know the answer, I'll give them the answer. But if I'm not certain, I always do this. I should say, well, you've asked me for advice. I'm not quite certain how to answer your question. I think I know, but I'm going to check from a higher authority, and then I'll give you the answer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And then moving on to like some projects or roles that you're really proud of, and you gave me a preview, and has to do with the sea, with cruise ships, charity. Please tell me about that, because I haven't heard anything like it.
Well, at home, I hope they end up in a good destination. My wife and I have been on so many voyages. A lot of the American companies have bought P&O, Cunard, and they're not too happy with the time and the money that is spent for Freemasons to gather on the ship. But they don't gather on the ship for ritual. It's rather like a ladies' night.
Okay.
People give money. We go to the shop and we buy a gift for the ladies. I've bought Masonic minute books and presented them to different liners, and it comes out every voyage for all the Masons from around the world to write their names, their lodge, its number, the province, the country, their rank. It's all printed on programs which are distributed on the night.
So it's like probably like a drinks hour or a meetup on the ships, and then they could sign in.
Yes. First of all, you have a committee meeting where we all meet.
Okay.
And I started going. I prepared a form, got everybody to sign it for all the information. Then I go to the ship's printer. I said, print this form.
Oh, I see.
Do. And then, of course, we raise money for charity.
Okay.
And we raise money. I'm always fair. I share the amount of money the Freemasons give. It's like a miniature ladies' night, really. I share the money that they give between a seamen's mission.
Okay.
Usually missions to seamen, or another union where seamen are in difficulty. Usually lots of foreign seamen that come from the other side of the world. And the other goes to the next Masonic festival. In this case, it would be the 2027 festival.
Festival, yes.
And I've done all that. And our provincial Grand Master, Mike Wilkes, Jonathan Whitaker, and even going back as far as Major General Bond was the PGM when I was first initiated.
Oh, wow.
All the money goes, all the money
goes to the festivals, yeah.
And I started on, I can be precise, on January the 12th, 2002, on the maiden voyage of Queen Mary II from Southampton to Miami.
Oh, really?
I started the first Masonic charity on the ship.
That's amazing.
In the jungle.
What?
In the April
Mm-hmm.
was the maiden voyage of Queen Mary to New York. They elected me president again, and the minute book that I presented and everything else, it all carried on exactly the same.
And
Commodore Warwick,
uh-huh.
who was being the Commodore, he's the top captain of the captains. He's written to me ever since.
That is brilliant. So
We're friends.
So what prompted you to do this on the ships? What prompted you to do this on the ships? Like, how did that idea come about?
He raised money for charity.
That's it.
So-
You're just like, all right, we're gonna do it on cruise ships.
I'm going to raise money for Masonic charity, but I have to include seamen as well,
Okay.
because we're at sea. I can't be greedy and say all the money goes to Masonry.
Right. I understand it, but your idea was just like, we're just gonna do it on ships.
Well, the reason I do it on
Yeah.
is it. Lots of Freemasons enjoy cruising.
Yeah.
And secondly, if I want them to give money, I can't get away.
They can't get okay.
I can't jump ship.
Your captive audience
I
on
can't
sea.
jump in the sea, can they? They're going to start.
That is fantastic. That is
Good
fantastic.
night.
Yes.
And I'll tell you something else. When
Yeah.
Commodore Warwick, he lost his father
Mm-hmm.
and he kept the ashes. Then he lost his mother.
Oh wow. Okay.
And he did a transatlantic.
Uh-huh.
My wife Charlotte and I were on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And he slowed the ship at the position where the Titanic went down.
Oh wow.
And he scattered his father, Commodore Warwick,
Uh-huh.
and his mother, ashes, on the very same latitude and longitude where the Titanic went down. And guess what?
Tell me.
He invited Charlotte and I to the funeral service at 6 o'clock in the morning. They slowed the ship to virtually a stop to scatter the ashes, and we were invited as his personal guests.
What a wonderful thing to see and experience and to be in that site. That is wonderful. Wow.
But what's more important, he wanted Charlotte and I there.
Yes.
That's more important,
Yeah, absolutely. Like, to be included into something so important in someone's life.
to include me.
Yes. Oh wow. So then how long has that this momentous, this special project been going on with the ships?
When the American shipping line bought Cunard and they bought P&O, they bought Holland America, they've not encouraged Masons to gather
Okay.
because it takes time with the crew, it's cost, and it's all stopped now. But of course, since my wife died,
Mm-hmm.
I've not done it. But what I have got at home, and somebody must enjoy this, I've got all the programs of every Masonic gathering
Mm-hmm.
with all the ships that I was on. They're all in a briefcase.
Have you experienced abuse or negativity because when you tell people you're a Freemason and
On all occasions. And what I've tried to do, when I've had negativity,
Mhm.
sometimes almost forcibly put upon me, I will challenge it. I will defend Freemasonry
yes,
and its principles, because we must never forget the great architect of the universe is the Lord. He decided when we come to this earth, and he will decide when we leave. And he will guide us through the period that we are here. So when people challenge me on my beliefs, if I have to come down to hard tack, I will say, it's because you don't understand. Go to your Bible, read the Book of Kings, chapters 1, 2, and 3.
mm-hmm.
If you
Okay.
know your Bible, go to the Book of Kings, and you will see how the temple at Jerusalem was built, the cedar that was built there, and all the things that were done.
I'm of the opinion that since I joined Freemasonry, it actually has enhanced my faith. It's made it feel more alive. I understand more for some odd reason, and it's just made it flourish. It's actually a really nice addition to when I go to church and I worship, because I understand more of the historical part of building the temple, and it's something that I remember being as a kid, as a young child, going to church, and it would just come in and go out the other ear. But ever since being in the craft, it's just made me pay more attention to it, to what's actually being said and the historical references, and it's just, I think it's really lovely.
Let me say something. I don't expect you to answer right away, but I think you will. Yeah, because I think what I'm going to say to you, it has so much sense, and you're clearly a deep-thinking man. What you've just explained to me, I completely agree with. But what I'm going to say to you is, the longer you're a Freemason, the stronger that will be. You go to church, and everything is becoming more meaningful. The longer you're a Freemason, the picture, all the blanks will fill in and make a bigger picture. And as you become older, and hopefully one day you'll be the same age as I am, it will all make so much sense.
I have a lot to look forward after you saying that.
It will be there. It will be there. Now, I went up to London. You'll excuse me if I'm repeating myself.
No worries.
I went up to Grand Lodge. I saw you on Waterloo.
Yes, we did. We ran into each other.
On the train coming back, going up the way, there was a little girl there. She's about 28. She came from Perth in Australia. She was a cardiac nurse. She'd been on a course here in England, and she'd gone off at Heathrow to fly back to Australia. My friend John Donahue, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, Johnny, we're great pals. He hardly let her answer before he asked another question. And I sat quietly on my wheelchair, very, very patiently. And John said, I never met Dennis's wife, Charlotte, but I wish I had. She was an amazing person. And I said to this little girl, I said, she was the reason I opened my eyes in the morning. She was my life, my existence. She was such a wise counselor.
Yes.
She could read people. She had intelligence. We could converse about virtually anything. Anyway, I never said much because John never really let me. Not that I wouldn't hold a conversation. I'd never have a verbal battle with him because, first of all, I'm not interested in women. And I thought, well, the poor kid, she's on a train journey. Does she deserve all this? Do you know what she actually said to me when she got up to leave the train? All that he'd said for an hour and 10 minutes apparently meant nothing. I only said one sentence to her, and it went deep with her. Do you know what she said to me?
What was that?
She got up, she pulled a case, she's standing near the door, she turned round, she said, Dennis, when I eventually meet my husband, when I eventually meet the man that will be my husband, I wish he would say about me the things you've said about your wife.
Yes. That's very profound. I mean, it is.
I had tears in my eyes. And do you know what I said to her? I'm sure he will.
Well, that's lovely. What a message to give to a young person.
But for that girl to sit quiet,
yes,
listening to his verbal barricade, And for her to think about one sentence I said, and it went so deep in her mind,
Mm-hmm.
she must have been thinking, I'm not asking for this. She must have thought, first of all, what a nice bloke to say that about his wife.
Absolutely.
And what a wonderful woman she must have been.
Yeah, and to be frank, Dennis, the first time I spoke to you, that really stuck with me as well. The way you spoke about your late wife, how much, her personality. It felt like I felt like I could see her in front of me, like acting. When you're, the way that she would behave, where she would interact with people, and I love that because the way you transmitted her life, her essence was just so vivid, and it's beautiful to hear, and it's fantastic. Dennis, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone standing outside, thinking about joining, but unsure? Because we come out, I come to those situations quite a lot lately.
Are you asking me if somebody asked me to propose them, or if they simply said I'm interested in Freemasonry? Then would have to come a question from them.
Because sometimes what I'm seeing is you have those guys that are in it 100%, and then those guys that it's kind of like this. Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe yes and no. It's always just like, oh, they're like, oh, what am I getting into? What no, and they hear the negative news about Freemasons and always in the press, of course. Well, what's something simple that you would say to them?
What I would say to them is this: I'm privileged that you should choose me to ask that question, and I'm also privileged to give you this answer. The benefits you will gain in your own life, your personal life, your religious belief, your decency to your fellow citizens in this world will be further enhanced by many, many scores of times if you become a Freemason. It will open up to your mind and your thinking benefits that you never knew were there.
It's true.
You are on the threshold of the most amazing experience that you will ever encounter.
The knowledge of self-cultivation, harnessing your own power, mentoring, being mentored. There's so many facets that could be that you'll gain from Freemasonry, but also that you'll give. You'll give a part of you that you didn't even know existed, which is exciting. Yeah. If there's something that you'd like to say to every Mason listening, if they're old or new, what would it be? What piece of wisdom?
You're on the threshold of the most amazing organization, apart from the Church of God, that you will ever enter. Would be my answer.
And I love that answer because sometimes I tell younger Masons, or even Masons that have been in it, that we should be so proud and always remember the heritage that we have as being Masons.
Yes.
And the heritage is so rich.
But using the heritage, they won't understand the heritage when that question's asked. You'll only understand the heritage when you are a member and have been a member. You see, I have something, with utmost respect to you, I have something that you don't have.
Tell me what it is. Tell me that secret.
Tell it to. Which builds into the question of what you've just asked me. Because of my age, I have wisdom.
Yes.
You haven't lived long enough. You only get wisdom when you did long enough to have earned it. So, all you could do as an elderly person that's gained wisdom through what's happened during your life is to pass that benefit on to somebody that's younger, to help them train themselves to be a better God-fearing person, to enjoy their Freemasonry more, to behave correctly in Freemasonry. And that's what I try to do with ritual, conversationally, and in any other way, even in this interview. That's what I tried to do. I know that your knowledge and your experience, because I've listened very carefully to what you've asked, and I know that those questions weren't written on those cards without a lot of depth of thought. I understand all those things.
Yes.
But the thing is this, I'll try to answer you in the best way and the most honest way that I can, in the hope that this podcast, I don't know how far in the world it's going to be shared, but I hope that my knowledge and my experience of 60 years, which is really the foundation of why we're both sitting here,
Yes.
will help other Freemasons. And if there's anybody that watches it or listens to it that aren't Freemasons, that they will learn the wisdom and the benefit of wanting to become Freemasons.
Roddy, wow, what a conversation. What was it like to sit in front of Dennis and have that chat?
You know what? He took me back into time. I could just feel how the lodge room was and also how the festive board was. But what I take away from the conversation was his wisdom and how Freemasonry just instructs us as men to do the right thing and to challenge ourselves as well. There's a lot to digest there, and I leave it to the brethren to think about it after, they have some quiet time to think about what Dennis said. It was a good one, and I hope the brethren could take home some nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, Dennis is 91 years of age. I think if I can remain as passionate for Freemasonry at the age of 91, if I'm lucky enough to get to 91 as he is, then I will consider that a job well done.
Yeah, indeed. And then for next episode, we're gonna have the opposite of this, right? So we won't reveal too much, and I'm looking forward to recording the next one.
Yep, it's going to be a good one. So we'll say goodnight for now, brethren. But as always, Roddy and I have been happy to meet.
Sorry to part, but happy to meet again. See ya.